Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar with you're connected here with Web8 Solutions, and our topic today is leading in the digital environment. And this is one of the courses that we're offering. It's a soft skills course which we're offering to help leaders to be better able to manage and through this digital transformation. And as you know, many companies are going through a digital transformation, and so we're offering a course where we can help develop leaders to be able to better participate during this transformation area. Oh, why am I not clicking here? My name is Brian Dunn, and I'm an executive coach and a leadership development trainer. I've been working here with Web8 Solutions for several years now, and I've worked with several other companies. And what will happen when we go through today's content, I will use the case studies based on companies that I've worked with, that I've consulted for, in order to drive the content and give you a sense of what your leaders will go through or what they'll be able to understand and come away with by attending our sessions. And so that's how we're going to actually manage our way through today. When we think about the course that we're going to deliver for you guys, this course is going to be a high energy course. We're going to have the leaders very interactive. We're going to talk about the digital transformation process. They'll learn effective transformation skills, how to lead teams, how to work with teams. We'll focus on agility and innovation, collaboration and inclusion, which will be our core skills that we want them to come away with. And these are big buckets. You'll see how these big buckets come together as we bring your leaders through this understanding of the digital transformation and how it affects your business. And we'll use case studies where they can get a sense of how other companies have managed their digital transformation process and be able to leverage some of that information from the different roadmaps that we're going to put in front of them. The content that we want to cover will be understanding the digital leadership, core skills of the effective digital leader, and here's where we'll have a lot of conversation: agility, innovation, inclusion, and collaboration. These are the areas that we'll spend most of our time on because we want the leaders to become comfortable with these concepts and ways to apply them. Wrapping it all together, we'll be achieving high performance. And as I go through the session today, I'm going to, again, use case studies to drive these particular points home. Let's get started with thinking about the effective digital leader and what this person will be involved with. In this section here, we're going to talk about common leadership types, defining leadership in the digital world, converting data into knowledge, and the needs of the digital employee. When we think about what's coming at us right now, our customers are driving our businesses more and more each day. What we've done is empowered them with technology, and they've used that technology to drive our work forward. When we think about it, many years ago, we put computing power in people's hands. And when we started that, people had BlackBerries, they had pagers, and they continue to want more. They continue to want to be able to be mobile and do things on the go. And there was a big effort for the innovation of the small. How can we get things small enough, compact enough that our users would be able to go out and get things done and not be tied to the desk? Once we gave them that, we gave them smaller devices. We gave them a variety of devices. We gave them BlackBerries and cell phones and now smartphones. And what has happened? Well, now they're saying to us, we want real-time information. So it's not enough that I can be completely mobile and have my communications fully mobile. Now I want real-time information. And so I want to be able to interact with people via social networks. I want to be able to identify exactly where I am right now and how I get to the next place, and also what else is happening for me. IT departments continue to offer these nuggets of advancement to the masses and offering them to our customers. And what they do is they take that information, they take that nugget, they devour it, and then they ask for more. What happens for the leader in this environment, now our business leaders are scrambling trying to keep up. They're doing everything they can to try to anticipate what's the next thing my customer is going to want, and how do I satisfy that need. Competition is doing the same thing. And so the digital leader has a lot to, will have a lot on his plate in order to try and keep up with all of these things. If we start by looking at some of the common leadership styles that we're familiar with, command and control, participative, situational, contingency-based, and transformational, we're familiar with these. We have top-down, which is authoritative command control, where a person shows up and says, I'm in charge, I'm the boss, do as I say. Then we have participative, that invites employees and gets employees from all parts of the company to weigh in on decisions. The downside of having this participative view with everybody weighing in on all decisions is that things move a bit more slowly than you may want them to. And we all know that in this day and age, command and control doesn't work as well as it did 30, 40 years ago. Situational leaders adjust themselves to fit the development needs of their followers. So based on where their followers are, that's how they will try to lead them. And sometimes they'll lead them slowly, sometimes they'll lead them quickly. The challenge here is that we can't keep up with business if we're totally dependent on where our followers are at this moment. We have to be more focused on our customer. Contingency-based leadership, success is based on the team or the tasks and the power groups. You can have a power group that's totally controlling what's happening in your business and maybe slowing you down or maybe taking you in a direction that is counter to where your customer wants to go. And so contingency-based is basically saying my leadership success is contingent on all of these other forces. Finally, transformational, which has been very popular in the last 10 years or so, it engages subordinates. It gets people to identify change in the business and then to craft a vision to drive that change. And a lot of times, the transformational leadership style is the style that people are saying, this is the style that I believe is the best style in order to be successful in our business. But let me go back for a moment. Sorry about that. When we think about the digital leader, though, the digital leader, it'll be important for him or her to be a learner as well as an expert. The person will never know exactly what's going to happen, but they must know where to get information. So when you think about the digital leader, that person doesn't have to be an expert in his or her area. But what's important is that the digital leader is able to access information efficiently and effectively. They'll know where to get it. That digital leader will envision the transformation, work towards the transformation, and think strategically about business models. What you will find is that your business today will look very differently than it looks tomorrow, than it looks the next 3 years, because the amount of information we will have available to drive business success will bring our businesses into different directions. The digital leader will have to find ways to honor what's already there as the culture of the organization, find ways to preserve that, but at the same time, move forward in terms of accessing and connecting with the customer and responding to the customer needs. And then finally, the digital leader will be important for that person to be customer-centric, tech-savvy, adaptive, and data-driven. This is really important because it'll take a lot of communication within the organization, communication outside of the organization, and then an ability to break down technical concepts in ways that people that may be not as technical can understand them. The digital employee will also look a little bit differently as well. The digital employee will have to be comfortable working with expanded networks. In the new digital environment, silos will have to be broken down. Departments will be merged. And so there'll be a lot more cross-pollination and cross-information of ideas in order for the digital employee to do his or her job well. They have to be more comfortable getting information and also answering questions from departments that they may not have had to deal with before. Oftentimes, our technical talent is really comfortable working inside of their own scientific box, as it were. They would be able to go build what they need to build, deliver it to the business, and then the business would move forward. But now our technical employees will be getting asked more and more questions around what they're presenting, how they're presenting it, and how it will benefit the customer. Additionally, the digital employee will have to be keenly focused on customer experience. I remember working for a company at one point, and we had implemented a set of software based on all of the requirements that we had received from the department. We built the software and deployed it based on everything that we knew up front and felt that we had a really good product to present. But soon after, based on customer feedback, we had to make several changes. Believe it or not, they felt our software was too clicky. It's a term I had not heard before, too clicky. And what they meant by that is that there were too many clicks required to get something done. And what we had to do is go back, look at our software, work with IT to minimize or reduce the number of clicks it took to get something done. This is responding to the customer need. What this will require for the digital employees is that they're more disciplined around moving with the speed of the customer. Your digital leaders in the new environment will have to find ways to incentivize, encourage, and build up the digital employee that's faced with all of these competing I lost my train of thought. With these competing demands that are coming to them from outside of the business and also from inside of the business. When we think about the core skills for the effective digital leader, beyond the things that I've identified before, I want to talk about 4 large buckets where we'll do a lot of the work during the class: agility, innovation, inclusion, and collaboration. These broad buckets are where the real skills will be developed for the leaders during our session in order to address and move the transformation forward in the individual businesses that they will be responsible for. Let's start with agility. Agility oftentimes means that we can get things done fast. But agility, in order to be achieved, may also mean getting other people involved. And when we're getting our business moving forward, oftentimes there's someone that has an idea of how to get things done. And once we learn from them, then we can become truly agile. In this section, we're going to talk about getting face-to-face, brainstorming, how do we manage course corrections, shared ownership and responsibility. We'll talk about emerging technologies for business value, and then finally, how the Kaizen skills matrix comes into play as a development tool for our leaders. The case I want to talk about is when I worked for a large law firm that was headquartered in the United Kingdom. They had global reach here in the US, and the headquarters would often roll out every initiative that was required for the entire enterprise. There was a software rollout that was scheduled to go to all the employees, that was meant to enhance customer experience, improve internal collaboration, and create firm-wide efficiencies. Initially, This was deployed to the London headquarters, and it took about 9 months to implement. The deployment created lots of disruption. It took longer than anticipated, and employee adoption was slow because of the amount of disruption that this particular implementation took. Once the London office was done, it was time to move to the US. And the head of IT here in the New York office wanted to learn from what happened in London and achieve a couple of things. One, she wanted to reduce the amount of time it took to deploy, and she wanted to minimize the amount of disruption that the implementation would take. Law firms are typically risk averse when it comes to implementing software, because for the lawyer, time really is money. And the amount spent learning a new system takes away from their time building their business, building their practice, and earning revenue. In addition, if they make a mistake that results from the implementation of technology or the new technology that's on their desks, that's real revenue that it can cost them in terms of clients' ability to feel like the lawyer will actually be able to perform the work for them. And so there's a huge trust factor involved between the client and the lawyer relationship. Additionally, when we implement software, they can't bill for the training hours. And again, this is lost revenue for them. What we were faced with was that our clients had more robust software than we did. And many of our clients had been pushing us to sort of come into the new era and be able to work more closely with them by beefing up our system. The new up-to-date software we knew would increase our business value, and that it simply had to be done. Additionally, the IT director understood that this initial implementation of software was just the beginning of a larger digital transformation that was on the horizon. And so we needed to really get this one right. In speaking with the attorneys, we discovered that they were unwilling to give us more than 90 minutes of time for training. And this created a challenge for us because we knew that they needed probably 3-4 hours worth of information delivered to them to be somewhat effective. The IT director worked with the London team, and we all brainstormed what would be the right amount of content to produce, and then what would be the right amount of support to provide. Using Kaizen principles, we initiated a conversation with the London team to see if they could send some folks here to work with us in a support fashion. That small group of support personnel would be able to work real time with the attorneys and the staff at their desks had they needed information or they needed upskilling after their 90 minutes of training. We created 2 feedback loops for them. One feedback loop that we had was that they were directly connected with an IT professional so that the person that was roving and going from desk to desk would call directly into an IT person, and that person would troubleshoot and solve problems for them that were technical, and that we didn't have folks in their offices having to wait in a tech queue in order to get support. Additionally, twice daily we had meetings in order to understand, one, who were the high need users that we wanted to get to first, and then also who were the outstanding issues that we also needed to make high priority for any given day. And then finally on Fridays, we would have a meeting with the extended organization to give updates on the actual implementation, as well as talk about issues that possibly were pending. The New York office was the first one to go here in the US, but there were several other US offices. We knew that if we could get this office right, then we could use what we learned here for the other offices. The IT director decided to use the same Kaizen process to identify folks in the New York office that we would be able to transfer down to other offices in the US in order to implement the software there as well. And she was determined to continue to reduce the cycle time or the implementation time for the other offices. The London team helped us identify folks here in the US that can be part of our support, our roving support that would go to office. And when they went back to headquarters, we had even more information, more data that we could transfer to our next set of offices that we needed to implement the software on. In an environment like legal, where large corporations or large organizations are not very agile, we had to create a real agile environment. Innovation. When we think about innovation, we think about finding ways to make things grow and morph and to look different. Also, we want to answer questions that people have and respond to customer needs. When we think about innovation, the concepts that we want to cover in this part of the training are the 5 whys, team capabilities for digital transformation, continuous learning as a mindset. We want to refer to anchors and enablers. We want to talk about knowledge as an asset, and then create an environment that's open for innovation. But how do we foster innovation? This was a question that faced a large cable company that I was consulting with. Customer-driven expectations combined with the rapid pace of technology development provide a lot of opportunities for this company to take advantage of. But how would they get the engineers, those folks that were deeply committed to their own specialty, to embrace the new focus, and this new focus was on software development? How would we get them to accept that it was necessary to learn a whole new set of skills and, in a sense, adopt an innovative mindset towards the enterprise? Again, IT leadership collaborated with corporate training to develop a comprehensive upskilling program for all technical professionals. What we did here is we used the 5 whys to understand why our engineer population was not really taking training at the rate that we wanted them to. In addition, we wanted to understand why our technical talent had not completed certification exams that were part of the training that we had offered in the past. We learned a lot from those conversations. The resulting program was a program that was anchored on this prospect that software development and software maintenance would quickly overtake the development of maintaining intricate physical systems. The CIO met with the executive branch and made a compelling case. He explained that 100% of our customers right now are already connected to us physically, our physical network, and roughly 90% of any new customer that we have is already connected to some physical environment as well. And so creating more customers or building more customers on a physical network was really not a huge opportunity for the company. What was the bigger opportunity, he said, was customer experience. And the way we enhance customer experience is through developing and offering a broader set of software. He made it clear that for those who didn't get it, in 5 years, this cable company would really be a software company. So in order to enable this digital transformation, several things were put in place. First, a clear set of career paths were developed for technologists so that they could understand what their promotion track would look like. Objective evaluation criteria was set so that people could adopt the digital transformation that was coming towards them. Training and development included classroom sessions, online learning, self-study courses, evening and weekend classes, and also included a bonus for those who were able to complete the certification exam. To enable the digital transformation here, several other things had to be in place as well. Technicians had to understand that once they completed their courseware and once they were able to work differently inside of the environment, they would be put on project teams, and those project teams would work on the most innovative parts of the business. And those parts of the business would be focused on customer experience. When we think of this digital transformation, This happened for a company that needed to foster a continuous learning mindset. A growth mindset is always important when we're talking about digital transformation and moving the business. But once IT broke through the slow growth habits of just keeping the lights on, the newly charged IT team embraced innovation, continuous learning, and this digital transformation for this company is still going on. When we think about companies that have been affected by the digital transformation, there are several of them. And before I jump into the next two concepts around inclusion and collaboration, I want to pause for a moment to have us consider something. When we think about Google as a company created a very dynamic and robust research engine, and people were able to simply find what they needed and find what they needed quite quickly. But what happened? What was the transformation for them? Their transformation is that they became a purveyor of services. And now Google not only allows people to find things quickly, but they've morphed into a company that provides web services, provides communication, and provides huge amounts of video content. Again, responding to the customer needs. When you think about Amazon, Amazon was a bookseller. And after several years of selling books online, they realized that they could offer more products, and simply sell products online. This for them morphed into creating an experience where people can simply order and find just about anything they needed online and get it delivered right to their home. And what was created was a different paradigm for customer experience. BlackBerry, the business, suffered as part of the digital transformation. They created the most secure email communication platform. And there was no doubt that emails delivered via BlackBerry, the BlackBerry Enterprise server, were highly secure. But what their customers wanted above security was variety. And variety was not what BlackBerry was offering. In the end, BlackBerry suffered greatly because they missed the boat on what their customers were asking for. So when we think about agility and innovation in the beginning, we want to think about how companies are affected by what's happening in the market. So let's talk about inclusion. Inclusion is about getting all people involved. And how do we get all people involved? Inclusion as a concept starts from the top. When I think about the case study for inclusion, I think about a Denver company that I worked with, which was 3 small telecom companies. These 3 telecommunication companies came together in order to take on a larger part of the telecom expense management market. The initial challenge, of course, was getting all 3 sets of employees on the same page. And the new CIO had been the president of one of the former companies. His 10,000-foot view of the combined business, unfortunately, peered directly down one silo, and that was his former company. For a while, that was his primary focus. Yet he allowed the other business heads to run their own shops the way they wanted. The only charge was that they had to make money. As long as they were making money, he gave them a hands-off approach. Unfortunately, as he looked at his business, he would routinely pull some of the best talent, some of the strongest players to work on his side, to work on his part of the company, and pilfer those from the other. And the result is that his product line advanced while the other 2 product lines faltered. During an executive team meeting, an increasingly hostile environment ensued. Investors wanted to know why the business hadn't succeeded to the level that they wanted, why the profit margins weren't where they had initially been projected to, and why the integration of the softwares had not happened. They were concerned that 3 years of being in business as a combined company, the legacy software was still not integrated into one, and that there were still departmental silos. So here we find a company that was built on digital, built on software, that had not taken advantage of what it had as part of its core. And the CEO needed to take a hard look at the entire business and how he was leading it. And clearly, he did not have optics across the organization. Software implementation alone does not create a digital transformation, and neither does widespread automation. These are only elements of the transformation. And actually, a question was asked during the executive team meeting, which was, do we even need all of this software? From that, a series of difficult conversations had to happen. Part of the process for change was that in work groups, cross-functional teams were encouraged to challenge everything respectfully that was currently part of the business. And the CEO made it clear that no one should presume that what's in place today will be in place tomorrow. He laid out a vision that integrated all legacy software into one platform. The goal was 18 months. And at the same time, he charged his business to develop a brand new software application that would perform all the functions of the legacy system. The goal was to turn up this system roughly 3 months after all the legacy systems had been merged into one, and then retire that old behemoth. Most people thought this was impossible, and many people felt it could not be done inside the business. But there were a few that felt this is an exciting prospect, and that we really should try to make this happen and achieve this lofty goal. Those folks were selected to be evangelists, and they helped the CEO to actually promote and implement his vision. In the past 3 years since the merger, this business had lost its entrepreneurial feel. It had layered on bureaucracy and implemented slow processes. And what the CEO explained is that leadership and employees at every level and every function needed to be participative in the global organization, and that their expertise were invaluable, and he wanted to hear from them. So in order to create a more adaptive culture, the innovation teams were created. And these employees, brought from throughout the business, were charged with helping the business to look at things very differently than it had been in the past. Their reports gave the CEO the visibility across the entire organization, and the reporting that they gave to him represented all the departments. So when decisions were made, he knew that everyone was engaged. This particular digital transformation was building on soft skills. The technology was pretty much already in place, but we needed an evangelization around the move, an aspiring vision, and the diligence to look across the entire organization. The CEO, the leadership, needed to be courageous and respectful at the same time as they challenged everything that this particular company was built on. The last concept, broad concept that we cover is collaboration. When we think about collaboration, collaboration brings everyone into focus. Collaboration is where the leader looks at their style. It's also about understanding the style of peers, team members, and it's about applying transparency and candor during the conversations and during the transformation. You will find that for leaders to be truly collaborative with the business and understanding what people need, they will need to be coaches, mentors, and develop action plans to assist those that need to change with part of the new environment. Every transformation shines a bright light on businesses. And so the true digital leader will need to deal with many of the same issues that leaders in the past had to deal with during their transformation. Everybody has to deal with access to a skilled workforce. We all have to deal with managing fear and confusion, supporting displaced workers, communicating the right message, at the same time continuing to make money. So developing the successful digital leader requires deep introspection into their leadership personality style, a discussion of their values, tools provided to leverage their preferred communication style, and an understanding of their corporate brand. Superimposed on all of these will need transparency and candor, as well as an appetite for coaching and mentoring. Coaching and mentoring is an important part of the skill set needed for the digital leader. When we think about the current workforce, we have young technical employees, and they demand to see plans in the business where they are represented. They're not interested in waiting 5 years to discover their professional fate. And current employment trends show that younger employees are changing companies every 2 years or so. 5 years is an eternity for these youngsters. Their desire for meaningful work has forced corporations and corporate cultures to stretch in ways that they've never had before. Opposite of them are the seasoned employees. These are the ones who've forgotten more than their youthful counterparts know right now, and oftentimes would love to tell them that. Seasoned employees understand the nuances of your business, and they know the hard mechanics of how the enterprise works. They too want to see their place in the business plan. But many of them want some assurances that they can live out the balance of their years here with your company and simply retire peacefully. Between those two are our steady performers, those folks in the middle. These people are trying to build both a professional career and a personal life at the same time. But what they want most is for those other two sets of folks to simply be quiet so that they can get some work done. The digital leader must be mentor for the younger employees, coach for the senior staffers, and help to develop developmental plans for those in the middle. The digital transformation for your business will be delivered differently based on people and software. And there's no exact formula that we can give. What we do know is that the successful digital leader will learn how to communicate with others, will learn what their team members find important, what drives their customers, and then leverage this information to move the business forward. She'll be comfortable with the technical and the human side of the business. Your digital leader will have to be a great communicator, as curious as an entrepreneur, as well as charismatic and goals-driven. She'll need to be decisive yet pensive, and believe that connecting every area of the business is vital. And this is a tall order for leadership. And that's why we take the time to help them go through an introspective process around their own leadership style, their communication style, and their values. In the digital era, those who do not adapt will suffer. I once heard real estate developer Grant Cardone make a startling comment, which I think sums this up. The marketplace, he said, will always discipline those who are unprepared. It will be incredibly important for our leadership to be prepared. When we're trying to wrap all of these together to achieve high performance, again, we want to use case studies and experiential learning to drive this commentary. Achieving high performance brings all of the pieces together. The case I want to present here begs the question, what happens when your transformation gets stalled by the skills gap. The pieces that we want to focus on here are crucial conversations, servant leadership as a concept, extending the network as a concept, the process on time to value, and then decision support, meaning agility, building agility, velocity, assets, and knowledge. The case study here is of the largest education system in the United States. And when I was working with them, the school administrator at the time found it to be critically important that school buildings became better with technology. The interesting thing that was discovered in the process was that building administrators, principals, guidance counselors, assistant principals, oftentimes knew of the technology in the building. They knew about the quote unquote computer science lab. But when asked to explain what it does, when asked to deliver information around the computer lab or the technology in the building, they had a real hard time speaking to what that was or the benefits that it provided for students and administrators alike. Additionally, what benefits it provided for the greater community. So the head of the education department explained that what he wanted was administrators to be more visible. He wanted them to be more mobile. He wanted them to make data-driven decisions and be able to speak to those. It was important to promote technology and to digitally transform, at a minimum, the main office and then the academic departments right after. The benefit we had at the time was that a new core curriculum had recently been approved. And what we intended to do was spend the summer months reviewing the curriculum, loading the curriculum onto laptops, setting up a cloud service for collaboration, and bringing the administrators all that we could get our hands on up to the Kaizen level of able to teach. We felt that this initiative would allow administrators to be mobile, to collect and share information real time, increase collaboration between departments, enhance communication, and build usable knowledge assets. The mental shift for the principals, though, was to adopt a servant leadership model, which after a lot of conversation was coined lead learner, lead teacher. So throughout the summer, they would be receiving lots of information, acquiring abundance of knowledge, developing skills, and all of this they would need to transfer into their individual schools once they opened in the fall. No one else understood their schools better than they did, and so no one else could deliver this message but them. Fortunately, a benevolent donor gave us laptops for every administrator in the program. So everyone received a fully loaded laptop with not only Microsoft Office, but lots of additional up-to-date software. The education department itself made a commitment to upgrade the school building, again, beginning with the main office as part of the digital transformation. And the building leaders needed to familiarize themselves with the laptops and the software, then develop action plans for school opening. Coaches were hired to assist with creating the building action plan. We felt like we had everything in place, and so we launched. A surprise came real early in the process. It was discovered that many administrators were not familiar with laptops, didn't quite understand the concept of being mobile, and had a cursory knowledge of Microsoft Office. We had to make some changes and make them fast. The decision was made that at the beginning of the summer, we had to upskill the principals before we could even move forward with this transformation. But that created a series of difficult conversations. The school's chancellor, the administrators union, the administrators themselves, and the implementation team all had to be brought in to come up with a plan to bring people up to speed. As you may know, education systems are ruled by unions. And so the big challenge was to get buy-in from the administrators' union. The result of a lot of conversations, a lot of back and forth and some heated arguments turned into what was called the Weekend School for Principals. And it was located inside of the Department of Ed headquarters. The union temporarily relaxed rules around the improved work week. Principals agreed to invest extra hours of their time for learning, and the implementation team was moved to flex hours. Everyone attended weekend school. It was a humbling experience for administrators. Now they were forced back into the classroom, but this time as students. In the process, they gained an appreciation for some of the challenges that will arise when they attempted a transformation in their school. Some folks will be ready to go. Some folks will be displaced. Others will feel very enthusiastic, some will be fearful, and others will feel unsure about whether they can perform in the new environment. The weekend headquarters school allowed for the principals to practice the lead learner, lead teacher model and to adopt as well as adapt to the technology that was in front of them. This allowed them to gain insight into some of the feelings and experiences that their own staff will have or could have during the transformation. So we think about achieving high performance. There's a need for agility to change plans once we get new information. There's a need for innovation when applying technology and systems. It's important that we're inclusive to get all stakeholders and all of the minds in the business leveraged towards decisions. And it's important to collaborate and be a strong leader to drive the transformation. When we get everyone involved, our digital transformations have the ability to achieve real success. So this is the course that we would be offering. At this time, I'd like to open the floor, if we have some time, for any questions. What I'll need from you, Alex, is the process for unmuting everybody. That's what I'm looking for now. If you have a question, you can actually put it in the chat as well. So it looks like we have some people that are dropping off. So what we'll do is we'll close the webinar, and if you have any additional questions, or if you want to know more about this course, you can reach out to us at WebH Solutions. Here's our contact information here, which I'll leave up for the next couple of minutes for those that may want to use it. I want to thank everyone for attending.